Okay, so today we're really diving deep into Yuval Noah Harari's Sapiens, cracking open chapter 6, building pyramids, and we're going to explore like this major turning point, the agricultural revolution. We all kind of think we know the basics, but get ready to kind of rethink everything you thought you knew about progress, like how humans work together and basically how human societies even came to be.
Yeah, it's super interesting because, like you said, we usually see agriculture as this purely positive thing, right? Like we went from hunter-gatherers to farmers, and that equals progress. But Harari kind of flips that on its head a bit. He's saying it was actually one of the most controversial things to ever happen to us.
Controversial, really. I mean, yeah, I get that becoming farmers wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, but it's kind of what allowed us to, build civilizations, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where things get really interesting. Like imagine for a second life before farming. You're living as a hunter-gatherer, roaming around huge areas of land, just following the food. No deadlines, no 9 to 5, just you and like the wilderness. Sounds kind of idyllic if you ask me.
Okay, yeah, there's definitely a certain romantic appeal to that lifestyle, I'll grant you that. But Harari points out that with farming came much smaller territories for each person, right? Instead of these massive hunting grounds, you've got your own tiny plot of land. Do you think that like messed with our ancestors' heads, like psychologically?
Oh, totally. It's like the beginning of this whole new type of anxiety.
Yeah.
Think about it, the hunter-gatherer, their worries are pretty immediate.
Right.
Like, where's the next meal coming from? Am I going to get eaten by a lion? But the farmer, they're suddenly worried about stuff like next year's harvest, whether they've stored enough grain, what if there's a drought. It's a totally different way of thinking about time and uncertainty and resources.
It's like that feeling when you realize you haven't saved enough for retirement, but like on a massive societal scale.
Exactly. And as if that wasn't enough, Harari throws in this whole other concept, imagined orders. He says humans don't actually have this built-in biological drive to cooperate in huge numbers. We needed something more, something to like bind us all together, shared myths,
Yeah.
stories, beliefs, that kind of thing.
So it wasn't enough to just be neighbors sharing a field. You had to buy into a bigger story to actually function as a society.
Exactly. These shared stories, these imagined orders, they're what allowed us to go from small tribes to massive empires. Think about Hammurabi's code in ancient Babylon, super strict social hierarchy, literally set in stone. And then compare that to something like the American Declaration of Independence, founded on this, at the time, radical idea of equality. Both are imagined orders in Harari's view, but both totally shaped the course of civilizations.
Wait, hold on a second. If these imagined orders aren't based on some kind of fundamental truth, does that mean we're all just fooled, like living a lie?
That's where I think Harari is being really subtle. To call these big shared stories lies, that's kind of missing the point. They're more like necessary fictions. Think of it like the rules of a game, right? Like chess.
Okay, I think I see where you're going with this.
Okay, so the rules of chess, they aren't true
Yeah.
in any real world sense,
Yeah.
right? But because we all agree to play by them, we get this super complex system. We get strategy and competition, even like artistry. Do you imagine trying to play chess without those shared made-up rules?
It would be total chaos for sure.
Right. So it's not really about whether these imagined orders are like objectively true or not. It's about what they let us do as a society.
So Hammurabi's code, as harsh as it was, gave ancient Babylon some structure. The other option was everyone for themselves, basically.
Exactly. And even the American ideal of equality, which obviously has its own messy history, that's the foundation for things like individual rights and a government that's at least supposed to answer to its people.
It's like saying, okay, this social contract thing, it might not be perfect, but it's the best we've got for now if we want to build something together.
Right. And so let's jump ahead a bunch of centuries to a more modern example. Let's talk about romantic consumerism. This idea that we find meaning and happiness from buying stuff. The newest phone designer, close that trip to Bali, the whole deal.
Oh, yeah, I know it well. It's inescapable. Magazines, social media, just walking down the street, you're constantly bombarded with this message that, like, happiness is just one purchase away.
And the thing is, we totally buy into it.
Yeah.
Right? Like literally and figuratively. It gets all wrapped up in what we want. Harari compares this to those ancient Egyptians who built the pyramids. Do you think those guys woke up every day thinking, this is a huge waste of time and resources?
I'm gonna guess no.
Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
They really truly believed in the afterlife, in the pharaoh's power. Everything about how they saw the world, their desires, was shaped by that belief.
So we're like the ancient Egyptians, just with different pyramids. Like we're stuck with whatever myths are popular right now.
Well, we might not be building giant tombs in the desert, but yeah, we're definitely building our own metaphorical pyramids every day. Our careers, our relationships, what we want to achieve in life. But the big difference is that we can be self-aware. We can actually step back and question the stories we've been told.
You're saying we get to choose our pyramids.
In a way, yeah. We can decide what we want to believe in. It's not about rejecting these imagined orders completely. Like I said before, we need them. They give us purpose, they hold society together, but we have to recognize when they're not doing us any favors, when they've become so normal that we don't even think about them anymore.
Which Harari says is a lot harder than it sounds right. He uses that example of like trying to dismantle a huge company. Like, let's say you wanted to take down Peugeot. You might think, okay, we just convince enough people to stop buying their cars and the whole thing falls apart. But it's not that easy, is it?
Nope, not even close. Peugeot as a company, it exists outside of any one person's beliefs, right?
Mm.
It's tied into all these systems, laws, contracts, the stock market, thousands of people who depend on it.
So how do you even begin to challenge something that big?
Million-dollar question, right? Harari suggests that to create real change, you need a new, even more powerful imagined order to take its place. Look at the major revolutions throughout history. The American Revolution, the French Revolution, even social movements like the Civil Rights Movement. They all worked because they offered a new, inspiring vision of the future. A story so good, it could get people moving and make actual change.
Makes you wonder, what about our lives today will seem crazy to people in the future, and what new stories will we come up with to build a better world?
See, that's what's so great about Harari's work. He leaves you with a ton of questions. It really makes you think critically and look at your own life. What stories are shaping your world? What do you believe in, whether you realize it or not? And are those beliefs helping you? Or is it time for a rewrite?
It's a good reminder that we're not just along for the ride when it comes to culture. We can question things, challenge the way things are, and really have a say in how we want the future to look. And that wraps up our deep dive into Yuval Noah Harari's Sapiens and this whole idea of imagined orders. Keep those questions coming, keep reading, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.